I found out my parents sold my grandmother's house while she was still alive, not after she died. Not because she agreed to it. While she was sitting in that same house, drinking tea in the kitchen she'd spent 43 years paying off. And the worst part, they were already celebrating the money before she even knew. I found out because my father accidentally sent me a screenshot meant for my mother. A bank notification. Wire received 41200. At first, I thought maybe he'd sold one of his rental properties, but then I saw the caption underneath. Finally rid of mom's old dump. I remember just staring at my phone. My chest actually tightened, because Grandma loved that house more than anything. That place wasn't just property to her. It was Grandpa's fingerprints in the garage workshop. It was pencil marks on the hallway wall measuring me growing up. It was the backyard swing Grandpa built before cancer took him, and somehow, my parents had sold it behind her back. But what they didn't know, what none of us knew yet, was that Grandma had already seen this coming months earlier. And she'd been planning something so devastating, it would destroy my parents in front of the entire family. I just didn't realize I was about to watch it happen in real time. My parents always treated Grandma like she was already dead. That sounds harsh, but it's true. Every family dinner somehow turned into conversations about the future, meaning her money, her assets, her house, especially the house. My father obsessed over that property, 3-bedroom corner lot, old neighborhood, that suddenly became expensive after developers started buying nearby homes. He talked about it constantly. Mom's sitting on a gold mine. She doesn't even use half the rooms. It makes no sense for her to stay there alone. But Grandma always shut it down calmly. I'm not leaving this house until they carry me out of it. She'd smile when she said it, soft voice, tiny little shrug. Meanwhile, my mother would fake laugh while exchanging looks with Dad. Those looks always bothered me, like they were waiting for something or planning something. And over the last year, things got worse, way worse. Dad suddenly started acting concerned about Grandma's memory. At first it sounded innocent. She forgot where she left her keys. She repeated a story twice. She mixed up dates. But then he started saying it around other relatives, at birthdays. At cookouts. At church. Almost like he was building a narrative. She's getting confused lately. You know how old people are. We may need to start helping manage things. I noticed Grandma noticed too. She'd go quiet whenever he talked like that. Not hurt. Not emotional. Just observant. Like she was collecting information. One night after dinner, I stayed behind helping her clean dishes. She suddenly asked me something strange. Do you trust your father? I laughed awkwardly. What kind of question is that? She dried a plate slowly. The kind old women ask when people start counting their years instead of listening to their words. That sentence stuck with me because something in her tone felt different. Not scared. Prepared. At the time, I didn't understand what she meant. A month later, my parents started pressuring her to sign paperwork. They claimed it was for estate planning. Dad kept saying things like, "We're only trying to help." If something happens suddenly, things become complicated. You should trust your own children. Grandma refused every single time. Politely, calmly, but firmly. And every refusal made my father angrier. I saw it happen firsthand one Sunday afternoon. Dad spread papers across her dining table, legal documents, highlighted sections, sticky notes. He spoke to her like she was a child. You don't understand this stuff anymore, Mom. Grandma adjusted her glasses. I understand enough not to sign things I haven't read. Dad sighed dramatically. See, this is exactly what I mean. I felt sick hearing that, because suddenly it clicked. He wasn't trying to help her. He was trying to establish control. And my mother was worse. She started emotionally manipulating Grandma constantly. You know, your son sacrifices so much for this family. We're drowning financially. You could make everyone's lives easier. Then came the guilt trips. After all we've done for you, families help each other. You can't take the house with you when you die. That one changed the entire room. Grandma stared directly at my mother. and for the first time, I saw coldness in her eyes. Not sadness, not anger, calculation. Then she smiled. Tiny. Controlled. You'd be surprised what people can take with them. Even my father looked unsettled by that answer, but they kept pushing, and then things became terrifying. Because one afternoon, I stopped by Grandma's house unexpectedly and found strangers walking through her living room. A realtor, a couple holding brochures, Dad speaking enthusiastically. This area is exploding in value. I felt my stomach drop. Grandma was upstairs napping. She had no idea people were touring her house. I pulled Dad aside immediately. What the hell are you doing? He lowered his voice instantly. Relax. We're exploring options. You're showing her house without permission. She's confused half the time anyway. That sentence made my blood boil. I looked at Mom expecting her to step in. Instead, she whispered, "This is for everyone's benefit." I went upstairs immediately. Grandma was awake now, sitting on the edge of her bed. Quiet. Too quiet. Grandma, did you know people were downstairs? She nodded slowly. I heard them. You okay? She looked toward the hallway, then back at me. Your grandfather used to say greed makes people sloppy. I frowned. What does that mean? But she only smiled faintly and changed the subject. That should have been my warning, because while my parents were getting bolder, Grandma was getting quieter, and that terrified me more. A few weeks later, my Aunt Denise called me. She sounded uncomfortable. Your dad says Grandma's dementia is progressing. I froze. What? He thinks someone should get power of attorney soon. My heart started pounding, because Grandma wasn't confused at all. She remembered birthdays better than I did. She balanced her own finances, paid bills herself, did crossword puzzles every morning. This wasn't concern. It was strategy. And suddenly I realized something horrifying. Dad had been planting this narrative for months, maybe longer, building witnesses, creating doubt, making everyone believe Grandma was mentally declining. I drove straight to her house that night, and when I arrived, I found her sitting at the kitchen table with a man in a gray suit. Both of them looked up calmly. Grandma smiled. Oh good, you're here. The man stood, introduced himself as Mr. Callahan, an attorney. Dad had no idea she hired one. Neither did Mom, and judging by the thick folders on the table, this wasn't recent. Mr. Callahan left shortly after. But before leaving, he handed Grandma a sealed envelope. Then he looked directly at me. Your grandmother is much sharper than people think. After he left, I stared at her. Grandma, what's going on? She folded the envelope carefully. Insurance. For what? For betrayal. I didn't even know how to respond. Then she asked me something that changed everything. If your parents ask, you were never here tonight. Understood? I nodded slowly, and for the first time, I realized Grandma wasn't reacting to my parents anymore. She was preparing for them. The next month became chaos. My parents escalated everything. Dad started limiting who visited Grandma, claimed she needed rest. He intercepted calls, canceled plans, even changed one of her doctor appointments without telling her. Then came the rumors. He told relatives Grandma was forgetting medication, that she wandered outside at night, that she was vulnerable to scams. None of it was true, but people started believing him because he sounded concerned. That's what manipulators do. They weaponize concern. Meanwhile, Grandma stayed calm, almost unnervingly calm. One evening, she asked me to help clean out old boxes in the garage. While sorting through papers, she casually handed me a small key. Keep this somewhere safe. What is it? Safety deposit box. I blinked. Why are you giving me this? Because your father searches my drawers now. That sentence chilled me. Then she added quietly, he thinks I don't notice. My chest tightened. How long has this been happening? She gave a sad little smile. Long enough. I wanted to confront my parents immediately, but Grandma stopped me. No, why not? Because impatient people expose themselves eventually. I didn't fully understand. But she did. And she was waiting. Then everything exploded. Dad announced at Sunday dinner that Grandma would be transitioning into assisted living soon. He said it casually, like it was already decided. The entire table went silent. I looked at Grandma instantly. She continued eating, completely calm. My Aunt Denise frowned. Mom agreed to this? Dad answered too quickly. She understands it's for the best. Grandma slowly set down her fork. No, she said softly. The room froze. Dad forced a laugh. Mom's emotional about change. Then Grandma looked directly at him. I said no. You could literally feel tension hit the table. Dad's jaw tightened. Mom jumped in immediately. You're forgetting conversations again. That did it. I slammed my hand on the table. She's not forgetting anything. Dad shot me a deadly look. Stay out of this. Grandma gently touched my arm. Then she stood, tiny woman, 80 years old, but somehow commanding the entire room. You've mistaken my patience for weakness, she said quietly. Nobody spoke. Then she walked away, and my father looked genuinely shaken for the first time in months. But he didn't stop. He got worse. 3 weeks later, the house sold, without Grandma knowing. Or at least that's what my parents believed. I found out through that bank screenshot. And when I confronted Dad, he didn't even deny it. It's done. He snapped. You sold her house. She can't manage it anymore. She doesn't even know. She will.